Jennifer, hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. We're very happy to have you today in the Innovation for Humanity podcast, launched by the Egyptian Food Bank on the sidelines of Jihad. So, would like to hear from you about innovation, specifically in humanity, as the head of learning and capability at the Humanitarian Leadership Academy. First of all, how do you see the humanitarian scene? What's the biggest game changer in the humanitarian scene, specifically maybe for the MENA region?
Yeah, I would say the biggest transformative shift is really in the drive for locally led humanitarian response, and the fact that we're really seeing a shift in the way that actors are committing to that and actually driving it forward. I think that this, isn't just an ideological question, it's a practical one. It's essential that local actors are the ones driving humanitarian response, because they're the ones that are really closest to what's happening on the ground. They are the ones who speak the language, who understand the local context, and practically can deliver swiftly in that emergency. So the Humanitarian Leadership Academy really exists to accelerate that shift to locally led humanitarian action. And for us, we do that through three pillars. So that's nurturing humanitarian leaders, driving collective action, and convening local voices. So as an example, in our efforts to nurture humanitarian leaders, we have a free online platform of learning with over 800,000 users. We have a Women in Leadership network that's 900 strong. We deliver crisis management training, stress and resilience training, and leadership development courses. And we have a pool of humanitarian coaches who've gone through postgraduate certificate, diploma and masters in order to be able to support local organisations in nurturing the leadership in their organisations. In terms of driving collective action, we really focus on collecting and generating evidence with local actors and disseminating that in order to really address power imbalances and outdated models of humanitarian response. And on the last one, convening local voices, we have a series of events called Humanitarian Exchange. And in those, we bring together actors to really share insights and learnings and be able to co-create solutions together. We've just had an event the last 2 days in Baghdad, and we had one last year in Gaziantep, Turkey, with over 400 participants as well. So it's something we're really committed to, just bringing those voices together.
That's very, very interesting. So speaking about innovation and all the very interesting initiatives that you're working on, maybe we should not miss speaking about technology, AI, yes, other tools. How do you think we can somehow integrate these technological tools, maybe AI or others, into our humanitarian work?
Yeah, really good question. And if we don't talk about AI, we're going to be very quickly behind the times, aren't we? For us, it's something we're really experimenting with in the Humanitarian Leadership Academy. We use AI to prototype solutions, to develop our trainings, for example, generating imagery and videos. We use it to contextualize responses. So when we are developing trainings, we want to develop local examples, or we want to try and look at integrating feedback into our trainings. We can use it to analyse local needs assessment data. So recently we rolled out a survey for NGOs in Syria to respond to the emerging political situation. And that meant that we were able to then use AI to analyse the data that came back. Big one is translation for us. We develop a lot of online learning content, and we just wouldn't be able to translate all of that content into all the different languages we operate in if we didn't use AI.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, obviously. It can never compete with a real human translator at the moment, but our budgets just wouldn't allow us to do that kind of scale of translation if we didn't use AI. So that's really positive. And another one that's showing really good promise going forward is looking at developing personalised learning journeys. So being able to use our catalogue of content, but use AI to compile a personalised journey for where somebody is in their career, what context they're working in, and do something that's very
adapting
different.
to different needs.
Exactly, yeah.
So now let's get back to the factors. How can we ensure fostering a culture of innovation? What are the factors that drive successful innovation in organizations?
I think the most important thing is that you focus on people. It's important to have human-centric design and ensure that you're focusing on real-world human problems and not just kind of innovating for the sake of innovating. You can have small-scale innovation, you can have large-scale innovation. It doesn't have to be huge and immediate straight away. And I think that really it's important about making sure you have kind of trust in local leaders. That's particularly important in the humanitarian sector. We see so often that when organisations are really given the space and resources to innovate, they do so naturally. So it's really important to have to give flexibility, to give in both the what organisations want to do, but also in the funding that's provided, and just give those organisations that ability to innovate naturally. I think that really we can support that by making sure that we are providing spaces for learning between organisations, for that kind of peer-to-peer exchange, and providing options for kind of coaching and mentoring for local leaders as well, so they can really explore their own solutions.
Yeah, people always come first. So thank you, Jen, for this. So maybe now I'd like to learn from you, how can we ensure that these innovative approaches or solutions that we're focusing on can ensure sustainability? You know, sustainability is key for development.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're sustainable, our solutions are adaptable, especially during this era where challenges are growing and the world is changing every day.
Yeah. I think a huge thing is co-creation. We, for example, have translated our learning resources into Arabic in Turkey, Syria, but it doesn't mean that we just translate them. They need to be adapted to local context. So we work with local facilitators, trainers, facilitators to really adapt to the local context and make sure that we're essentially co-creating kind of our solutions with that community. I think another really important thing is making sure that we involve youth. We need to look at the next generation of humanitarian leaders, not just the current generation of humanitarian leaders. One thing we're really focusing on is making sure that we are delivering youth leadership opportunities. So both kind of training events where we bring youth leaders together to discuss and learn from each other, but also trying to provide opportunities such as our humanitarian youth internship program, where we can help people to get placements within organisations and learn from that experience as well, and just really be able to gain that kind of confidence to take that kind of decision-making space in the humanitarian sector going forward.
So beyond immediate solutions, can you tell us about your overarching philosophy in humanitarian development?
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a simple one for us. Our core belief is that local organisations have to be central to humanitarian response. They have to be ones that are making the decisions and delivering and leading that response. So I think when you invest in organisations and not just projects, you build lasting capacity. So that needs to be supporting organisations with their operations, with their governance, not just as implementing partners for international organisations, but helping those organisations to really be resilient for the long term and not depend on international actors whose support can often be quite fleeting in the height of a crisis.
So I can technically feel the essence of your very unique mindset. So speaking about mindset, how do you think we can shift towards a mindset that technically adopt innovation and technically ensure that a positive, lasting impact is being processed over our development program? So maybe it's easier to just say, how do we break the mold?
Yeah, good question. I think we have to move away from just thinking about delivery to thinking about, how many people we've reached or how many trainings we've delivered, to really thinking about empowerment and about impact. We need to be really looking at what's the lasting change that we leave behind. And in particular, how much decision-making power has been left with local actors when the international circus rolls out of town. Really looking at how we can ensure the resilience of those local organisations and ensure that they are the ones that are leading the response in the long term.
What's your advice for young people, the youth, who want to bring their fresh, innovative, visionary thoughts at the table?
Yeah.
How can they make sure they're heard?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd say is start where you are, in your local organisation, your network, your community, and recognise that your lived experience is your strength. You don't need to ask permission to operate in the humanitarian sector or take some of that decision-making space. And I think in order to support your journey, take advantage of the resources that are out there. So for us, we have Kaya, our online learning platform. There's a huge amount of resources there for people who want to operate in the humanitarian sector. There's an across-organisational mentoring programme where we connect different organisations together with a mentee and a mentor. And there's also our humanitarian leadership programmes, such as the Youth Humanitarian Internship Programme. So I think just capitalise on those opportunities that you can find, however much time you have available. But really, as I said, just start where you are and know that you have the experience and just have that confidence to move forward.
And now it's time for a focus on food security, what actually the Egyptian Food Bank is specialized in. So maybe among several initiatives we do, what would you like to see us doing to address food insecurity?
I'd really like to see the Egyptian Food Bank driving local, national and regional collaboration. I think a huge strength of the Egyptian Food Bank is that you've got over 1,200 community-based organisation partners. That can only help to kind of drive action on food security. That's a huge network. So that can only be a good thing in terms of promoting collaboration. And I would say that space can be used to convene those organisations to share insights and learnings so that all of those organisations can be strengthened. The Egyptian Food Bank can establish communities of practice. It can really amplify those local voices and ensure that those kind of grassroots success stories are heard. I think that's really important when it comes to driving locally led action. We really need international donors and intermediaries to hear those success stories, because it can really promote that mindset shift towards really supporting that locally led action. Looking
at the future, what gives you hope in the MENA region?
I asked our regional lead for the Middle East region this question, Badur Gashay, and she gave me some really interesting examples. So for her, the thing that really gave her hope was the young leaders stepping up in the region. In particular, the Syrian youth who are building capacity in NGOs, the Libyan women who are leading crisis response, and the Egyptian professionals who are driving mental health workshops for Gaza. Hope lives in their stories. We just have to keep listening. And we have to recognise that innovation is already happening.
Yeah.
It's happening in local organisations, in regional networks, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to fund it and we have to elevate it and just let it happen naturally.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. This was really insightful, and thank you for your time. Innovation is actually happening, and we just need to fund it, support it, and make sure it keeps going.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for your time, and we hope we collaborate and we keep collaborating for humanity.
Absolutely. It's been a really interesting discussion the last few days, and I hope to continue talking to you further. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.